What does this day bring, Ata?
Sun all day.
Actually, my app says it's going to rain at noon.
Sun.
Rain!
Sun!
Rain!
Listen, I am going to buy my own boat. Who is with me? Give me my fish.
Hey, you, down here in the bucket.
Me?
Do you see another old man looking at me?
Stop talking and go back to being a fish.
Come and dead me.
I will.
If I jump out of this bucket, I will slap you with my fin. Slap, slap, slap.
Akwele. Akwele.
You have to stroke it, then poke it.
You want to join? Yes.
Do I get a wish?
No.
You just talk.
I'm sorry. Is that not like cool enough for you?
He would like to apply for a loan.
We can only consider a 3-year payback plan.
You think I will die in 3 years?
No.
Oh, she paused.
Papa.
That fish is very rare. How much?
Priceless.
I need a message first.
The message is, eat me.
We are screwed. Trust me, gambling is like swimming. It's in my DNA.
Where is school?
I miss his Jesus fish.
One thing about being Olu is we always value the ones we love.
Wow. So, one trip to Accra, and the man has become a poet.
Shut up!
From a vampire hunter's unexpected animated upgrade to the most exciting animated films of the year and a hard-hitting documentary earning global recognition, we are covering the stories that prove the power of storytelling. Welcome to the Film Mandate. And in today's episode, Marvel Zombies went ahead to provide Blade Night as a result of the repeated delays of the Blade film. And also, Animation is Film Festival has lined up its 2025 animated films for this year's event. And last but not least, Ghana Web's documentary titled Sex for Fish have received UNESCO Spotlight recognition. We'll be delving into all these stories and more right here on the Film Mandate. My name is Papa Otu. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to the Film Mandate, where I bring to you movie news, reviews, and reactions, both from the African front and the international scene. And thanks for joining me for this episode. And pardon me, I was a little disoriented. But if you see me in this shirt, I mean, you know what is up, because on the shirt is written The Fisherman, and it is a match for the trailer that I played earlier on, which is The Fisherman, which fortunately will be premiering tomorrow at the Silverbird Cinemas in both the Accra Mall and the West Hills Mall venue. So if you are in Ghana tomorrow, make it a point to be in these cinemas to watch the film. It's quite an exciting film. I was part of the production crew that helped bring it to reality, and it was really an honor to be part of this production. So do well to be part of this, film. Go support this film. Let's support Zoe Martinson's film, and let's enjoy ourselves whilst watching it. So thanks so much for joining for this episode, and I'm excited. So we're delving into our very first story, and for those who are particularly MCU fans, in 2019, we had one of the most exciting news, and that was the announcement, Kevin Feige announcing Mahershala Ali as the new Blade. And for those who have been Blade fans, particularly, I'm sure from the die-hard fans of the comics, to what we saw of Wesley Snipes, doing those, marvelous films early on, we were so excited that, finally, Blade is joining the MCU universe. However, that is in 2019. However, 6 years on, we still haven't had any report as to a date that have been confirmed to even kickstart production, let alone even a script is still being written after having gone through a number of directors and script writers. Well, just last week, we had one of the most exciting moments where Marvel's Zombies trailer was released, and here we saw Blade Knight in the trailer, and we were so excited because we were like, well, if you're not going to have the Blade movie as it is, well, this is the best we can settle for. And it was quite an exciting time watching the Marvel Zombies trailer and seeing the dexterity move, the skill set of a version of Blade, not Blade as the Wesley Snipes, or perhaps what will be portrayed by Mahershala Ali. And Brad Winderbaum, that is the boss, the Marvel television boss, sat down with Comic Book for a brief interview as to the reason why they chose to use this particular version of Blade. And this can be found in the comic book, on the comic book website, and I briefly want to capture it. So there in your shot is a screen grab of Blade in action. That is Blade Knight in action. And it says, this article says that Marvel Zombies Blade Knight was created due to live action Blade movies repeated delays. And this is what they had to say. So Brad Winderbaum and Brian Andrews, who is actually the showrunner, have confirmed that Marvel Zombies' Blade Knight was created after the Blade movie was repeatedly delayed, freeing Marvel Animation from tying it into the live action plans. So let's go to the place where they sat down. So this is what they had to say. We felt like Blade was going to be really exciting to put on screen, and we never thought that we would come out before the live action Blade. Marvel television boss Brad Winderbaum told ComicBook.com. It was always designed to be after, but we knew that we'd be in concurrent development. Sometimes when you are chasing live action like that, if they pivot and you don't pivot in the same way, you get stuck because animation needs a lot more lead time. He continued, making him the first of Khonshu freed us up in a lot of ways because he became now a new character with lore that we were creating for him, which let us kind of be more free and less tethered to the live action plans. And indeed, it is quite exciting when we finally saw this particular rendition of Blade on screen. And I did a review on it, so if you can go into my playlist or the podcast list of videos that I've done and check it out. But one of the exciting things I realized about this is the fact that at least this is the next best thing to what we were expecting of Mahershala Ali's Blade, and we never got it. As a matter of fact, prior to even this Marvel Zombies trailer, we had a glimpse of him in the What If Season 3, even though he wasn't front and center with that particular episode in mind. But what it does speak of is the fact that the Marvel still intends to actually bring the Blade character into their MCU. From the look of it, whether it will be prior, it doesn't look like it's going to be prior to any of the Avengers films, because even the script is not done, and with the moving set pieces happen in Marvel at the moment, it obviously looks like it may happen after Avengers Secret War. So it's unfortunate that we never get to witness what would have been Mahershala Ali's Blade integrated into the MCU and perhaps play a crucial role in Marvel's Doomsday and Secret Wars. as it stands now, I don't know whether even Mahershala Ali will be playing the role. But what I know is that there is the very likelihood that it's possible they could introduce Blade into the Secret Wars. But from the look of it, it also looks likely, from the rumors we are hearing, that possibly Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom, will likely reset the entire MCU. If that happens to be the plan that Marvel has in mind, then there is the likelihood that they will not even introduce Blade at all into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we have it now in the multiverse saga, and wait to be introduced in the X-Men saga going forward. I'm sure perhaps that's what they have in mind. So nothing is really set in stone. We are only hazarding a guess as to how that may play out to be. So as it stands now, what the Winterbaum said, and Andrews, who is the showrunner, said is that they assume that the Blade movie will precede what they wanted to do with the Blade in their own pocket of universe. That is the Marvel animation bit. But seeing that things are not proceeding as planned, the best they could do was to bring a variation or a variant of Blade. And amazingly, they brought in the idea of was the Fist of Khonshu, who is, the Blade Knight. And Blade Knight, as you can see of the costume, let me see if I can bring up an image of the character itself. But as you can see of the costume, it obviously points to the fact that the Marvel, let me see if I can bring it up. So it points to the fact that Marvel's Blade would more likely be what they are introducing is an amalgamation of not just Blade as a character, but also Moon Knight. And for those who happen to watch the Moon Knight TV series, I'm sure with the crescent on the chest as the emblem, and even like part of the costume seems woven into that of Blade. So the costume he's wearing at this instant is an amalgamation of both Blade's costume and that of Moon Knight costumes. And this, I don't know whether it will have any impact on the main MCU timeline, because if it will, I'm wondering whether there is the possibility of having both Moon Knight and Blade Knight in the MCU, which I do not know what that would say. And even with regards to just the TV side alone, does this character have an impact on what Moon Knight will be? Are they phasing out Moon Knight and introducing a new character in the like of Blade Knight? Those are questions that we are still asking. So the good thing is that, just as they have said, the Fist of Khonshu is not actually tethered to the live action MCU. So definitely it's not going to have impact on that area. But this being within the TV space, the question is that, is the Moon Knight also influencing, is it tethered to the main MCU as it stands now? Because it's been a while since the Moon Knight came out, and there have been no announcement of any plans to continue in a season 2 whatsoever. And everything seems a little bit loose with regards to some of the IPs that were developed within the MCU, even in the television, aspect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So those are questions that we are still pondering on. And with this introduction of the Blade Knight, these are questions I'm sure Marvel fans would be asking. So unless it is completely a throwaway episode that has no influence on the MCU, even in the television side, then maybe it's just for the entertainment of it and to perhaps whip up or to keep the hope alive that Blade will still show up in the MCU one way or the other. And it's just a matter of making sure that the script is right. And these are exciting things to discover. And if you pay attention carefully to the artwork, you realize the canon resemblance to Mahershala Ali's character. And let me see if I can bring let me see if I can introduce my thumbnail, and you realize that the resemblance is canon. So that is the thumbnail, and you could see the resemblance of both, the animated character. It obviously speaks to the fact that it was taken off his resemblance and presented, and drawn as such, rendered as such. However, he wasn't the one who voiced the character. A voice actor named Todd Williams was the one who did the voice work for Blade. So definitely it may not necessarily, just as they have said, it doesn't tie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the main timeline. But then one way or the other, I'm sure it is hinting at the possibility that this is what's going to happen, possibly in the future going forward. So those are things that we are looking forward to. And honestly, I'm excited about this. And fortunately, I think it is, when is it dropping? I think it's coming this very month. And let me just confirm. I think the date for the Marvel Zombies should be around Marvel Zombies release date should be, I think it's, September 24th. Yeah, so September 24th, barely a week from now, for a week from today. So we would be seeing the Marvel Zombies, and just as they've done with What If, What If also doesn't seem to have any impact on the main timeline. So it is some of the action sequences we saw, particularly in the What If one, I'm sure some might have hoped that it would have, one way or the other, given us hints as to what will happen in the main timeline. But for us now, it doesn't seem so. And this also asks, it also it makes me want to ask the question whether the Eyes of Wakanda would have no impact whatsoever on the timeline, since they one way or the other, they occupy almost the same space, on the TV side of Marvel. So those are questions, because the Eyes of Wakanda was very, very good. And from the way they built the timeline, going back into the past, doing major historical events like the Trojan, the war between Greece and Troy, and even going way back to certain aspects, very important aspects of history, and then finally ended in the modern time of Black Panther 1, you would think that it should have an impact on the main timeline. But, well, they've not debunked or said it doesn't or whatsoever. But seeing that is also animation, and Marvel Zombies coming is also animation, which has no impact on the major timeline, it makes me a little bit concerned, because some of the animations are so good, and you would want to see those characters, or one way or the other, this story giving us a little bit background as to what will transpire in the live action. But, well, it doesn't look like that would be the case. So for now, that we don't have Mahershala Ali's character returning, even though we had a tease of, which is from a different universe altogether, Wesley Snipes' character returning, we did comfort ourselves with that one. And even he his character poked fun at, indirectly, as to, to that of any potential Blade character be developed. He did say something that there could only be one Blade. And it was quite funny how he portrayed it in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. So this is something that we'll be looking out to. So if you're not going to get the Mahershala Ali's Blade, well, we would comfort ourselves with Blade Knight. And it looks good. Honestly, it does really look good. If you haven't watched the trailer, you should, or watch my trailer reaction with regards to the Marvel Zombies, and it is exceptionally good. You will really be entertained. And I'm hoping the quality, the production value they gave Eyes of Wakanda is the same they are giving, or even better, they are giving to Marvel Zombies, because Eyes of Wakanda is really a good production. It's really a good production, and I hope they do same with this. As one of our Eyes of Wakanda has 4 episodes, and it looks like this also has 4 episodes. So I don't know why they are resorting to reduce the series to just 4 for the animation now, and it's quite exciting. And hopefully, well, maybe there's a reason for that going forward. Maybe they would be able to explain. But with the X-Men 97 that it did, which was marvelously done, it had, I think, 9 or 10 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. And sometimes we would have hoped we'll get more, but it doesn't matter. Once the story is satisfying enough and the quality is good, I think we would contend ourselves with that. So let me know what you think with regards to this particular development, as to whether this is a sign of what Marvel is planning to release in the live action, Blade, or it's just a throwaway that has no impact whatsoever. Whatever your plans may be, or what your thoughts may be as an audience, can you leave it in the comment section below? Yeah, so moving on from one animation project, as we have seen in the Marvel Zombies, which is really a promising production. Well, we are moving into an entire world full of animation, and I'm talking about none other than the Animation is Film Festival. But before I go there, let's talk about the Oscar Minute, which is covering Oscar films presented by nations of the world for the Best International Feature category. And in today's episode, Spain has presented their film for the Oscar category of the Best International Feature. Let me read a brief article that highlights their submission for that category. So this is captured in the Hollywood Reporter, and this is what the article actually says. So, Oscars, Spain picks Oliver Laxey's Trippy Sirat as Best International Feature Submission. A father and son join a group of itinerant ravers in the deserts of Morocco in Laxey's techno-track drama about the end of the world, written by Scott Roxborough. So that is a screen grab of the production. And this is what it says, that Spain has selected Oliver Laxey's Sirat, a near-future drama about the end of the world, set to a thumping techno soundtrack, as its contender for the 2026 Oscars in the Best International Feature category. The drama follows a father and son who hook up with a group of itinerant ravers in the deserts of Morocco. What starts as a search for the family's lost daughter becomes something else when the world outside, as reported in static-heavy radio broadcast, appears to collapse, leaving the group with only themselves to confront the threatening world around them. And then it says that Laxey's fourth film premiered in Cannes, where it was a critical breakout and won the jury prize. In her review for the Hollywood Reporter, Lovia Jacquet called it an energizing film, a project determined to wake us up. Sirat was picked from a short list of 3 finalists, which also included Carla Simon's Romeria and Death by Eva Libertad, produced by Movistar Plus in collaboration with Pedro Almodovar's production company El Desio Filmes de Ermida, Uri Films, and 4A4 Productions. Sirat is being sold internationally by the Match Factory, known as Domestic Rights. So that is quite exciting for Spain, and it's amazing how Spain is a force to contend with when it comes to Best International Feature category of the Oscars. As it stands now, what I know is that Spain has won a couple of times with regards to the best, international feature category. And these are some of the categories that he has already won in. So they've been nominated 20 times. That is amazing. Nominated 20 times to be part of the Oscars. And they have won for Begin the Beguine in 1983. They also won for Belle Epoque, pardon my Spanish or whatever language that is, in 1994. And also Almodovar's All About My Mother in 2000, and The Sea Inside in 2005. And this is how well they have been performing for this long. It's amazing how well they've been doing in regards to this particular category. So it speaks volumes as to, whenever they present a film, that the likelihood of they being in the, nominated pack of films is very high. And with this one, it looks from the description of the production, out of a short list of just two or three, it shows how strong of a film that is and why they would want to present this particular film for this category. So kudos to Spain, and they being a force to reckon with. I think they are the country to watch when it comes to this particular, presentation. And well, this sums up the category or the story for the Oscar Minute. I hope you are enjoying it. Whatever your thoughts may be on this particular segment that I bring to you as and when a country presents their film for the best international feature of the Oscars for 2026, whatever your thoughts may be, kindly leave it in the comment section below. Yeah, so moving on from, or reiterating our steps back to the animation world, Blade is, Blade, as we have seen, Blade Night presented in the Marvel Zombie shows a different segment of, animation. The animation is not just meant for kids, but actually can serve a all different demographics that you can possibly think of or have in mind. Well, there is a festival that is drumming the message that animation is equally as important as live action and should be taken as a serious art form. And this festival is Animation is Film Festival. And in this year's only to be organized at the Chinese theater, TCL Chinese Theater, come October of this year. Well, let's delve into the lineup of films they actually have in store with regards to this year's selection. And this is actually published on the Variety website. And I'll take a quick read of all that they have in store for us. So in the Variety website, they say this is what is written of it. Animation is Film unveils 2025 festival lineup. Arco, Scarlet, ParaNorman, The Thrifting, and more. And this is written by Leila Mendoza. It says the Animation is Film has announced the lineup for its 8th year. The festival will showcase theatrical premieres, special events, panels, and shorts collections set to take place on October 17th to 19th at the TCL Chinese Theaters in Hollywood. This year's opening night will feature the West Coast premiere of Scarlet from director Mamoru Hosoda, produced by Studio Chizu and distributed in the US by Sony Pictures Classics. The festival centerpiece is the Los Angeles premiere of Arco, the debut feature from director Hugo Bienvenu, which will be distributed by Neon. So special screenings of the 225 lineup will feature the US premieres of Nobody, the highest grossing 2D animated film in China's history, and Roy and Arturo Ambres, I Am Franquella, I am Frankella and Kelda, sorry, I'm Frank Kelda, featuring a never before seen cut of the film. The festival will celebrate the 13th anniversary of Laika's horror comedy ParaNorman, including the world premiere of a remastered 3-print and the new short ParaNorman, The Thrifting, starring Anna Kendrick and Finn Wolfhard. So let's just, in addition, the festival will have work in progress screenings of Walt Disney's animations, Zootopia 2, 4 short programs including AIF's returning Best of Annecy in partnership with Women in Animation, and the annual Student Showcase. It's with enormous pride that AIF returns in its role as the first opportunity for Los Angeles to experience these essential films on their journey to end of year awards and best of lists, says Matt Kazanek, director of Animation is Film. This carefully curated lineup featuring new works from animation legends alongside feature film debuts is a celebration of the medium. It's wonderful to be home. So now let's take a look at all the full festival lineup list. So competition section, All You Need Is Skill, directed by Kenichiro Akimoto, a Japan West Coast premiere. There was also Arco, director of, Hugo Bienvenu, France, United States, Los Angeles premiere. Chao, Yasuhiro Aoki, Japan, USA premiere. Decorado, director Alberto Vasquez, Spain, West Coast premiere. I Am Frankelda, Arturo Roy Ambrose, Mexico, USA premiere. Lesbian Space Princess, Emma Hobbs and Lila Vages, pardon me for butchering the name. Australia, Los Angeles premiere. Little Amelie or The Character of Rain, Malise Valad and Lien Cho Han, Belgium, France, and USA premiere. And we have Nobody, that is Shui Yu, China, US premiere, and Scarlet, directed by Mamoru Hosoda, Japan, West Coast premiere. A Story About Fire, Wen Yu Li, China, West Coast premiere. Special screenings and studio events here is Chainsaw Man, the movie, Rizak, and the director is Tatsuya Yoshihara, Japan, West Coast premiere. We also have the special 13th anniversary screening of ParaNorman, paired with short film ParaNorman, The Thrifting, filmmaker panel, K-pop Demon Hunters. And then we also have work in progress panel, Zootopia 2, work in progress panel, Pretty Please, I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl. And then we also have a pre-festival preview, The Twits, by Phil Johnson, USA. Short presentations, we have Eru, Ireland, Giovanna Ferrari, and then we have Forever Green, USA, Nathan Engelhardt and Jeremy Spears. Cardboard, we have United Kingdom, JP Vine. Vesa, we have USA, Malcolm Pierce. And Snowbear, USA, Aaron Bless. And then we also come to Otoka, Poland, Belgium, Sylvia Kilads, pardon me. Como si la tierra se las hubiera tragado, Mexico, France, Natalia Leon, Gigi, France, Cynthia Calvi. We also have Playing God, Italy, France, Matteo Burani, Retirement Plan, Ireland, John Kelly, Shadows, France, Jordan, Rand Beiruti, also Afterglow, Hungary, Sofia Bellelli, Lazarine Biard, Joanne Marketant, Sarah Remen, Jan Tonoir. Pardon me if I'm butchering the name. I'm just doing my best to get it pronounced rightly. So we have Harry Legs, Canada, and Andrea Doffman. We have Overy Acton, Norway, Sweden, United Kingdom, Ida Melom, and Safo, Brazil, Rosana Ubes. We also have Vini, France, Vini Anne Bose. And then we have Zweman Memoration, Belgium, the Netherlands, Janike Swinkels, and Tim Fridsinger. So these are the list of animations that are going to feature at the Animation is Film Festival. And it is quite exciting how they are celebrating animation, because most of the time animation doesn't receive that much needed platform as compared to the live action films that we watch all the time. And even there's been arguments if you're going much into the rabbit hole, there are even arguments by fans of animation, some animated movies, arguably so, that it is a film and doesn't just need to be recognized for it being animation, but it ought to also be recognized as a best picture film when it comes to the Oscars. And these are arguments that I agree with, that there are some films that are that good enough to contend for the best picture category of films. And over time, yes, there's been a couple of animated films that have won actually the best picture films, but over the years, it looks like it's been sidelined and given its own category with no consideration of making the ones that deserve it to actually compete within that category. So those are conversations that I think with time ought to be had, so that the necessary recognition ought to be given to it, just as we give that recognition to the mainstream films that we watch from time to time. So those are conversations that I think ought to be had to really, give the necessary respect or regard to animation as a medium, a respectable medium of filmmaking. Let me put it that way. So these are things that honestly I'm happy about when I see, events like this doing this particular project to promote, animation as a very notable art form. And that is something I'm really excited about. So, animation over the years has moved away from just being entertainment for kids. As a matter of fact, in recent times, or not even just recent, over the decades, perhaps the last 2 decades or more, most animated films now are actually for, grown-ups, for adults. And it's not necessarily because of whether it may be R-rated, or violent, whichever content it may have, that will be classified as such. But some of the discussions, some of the animated films now are actually more highbrow of a sort, or it deals with certain socio-economic things, even though maybe metaphoric, but it is something very deep for adults to digest, after having watched it. So they are no more for, just kids to be entertained, but also deals with certain subject matters that are quite heavy and quite, deep in thought, that requires people to think deeply. There have been films over the years, just this past couple of years, I think just around the pandemic, we have Arcane, one, is a video game film, but the animated versions of it is very deep, with adult, rated content. And then, in terms of there being nudity sometimes, or sex and all others. And likewise, you have films like Blue Eye Samurai that deals with the backdrop of it has to do with how they call them demons, how half-caste, Japanese then a foreign, kids are ostracized one way or the other, and it also delves a little bit into the era of, for lack of a better word, the era where there were a lot of wars, where a number of nations were. So the whole background of the story is having certain white men influencing the culture of Japan, bringing in guns to take over the empire of Japan, and it was his plans was foiled by what they term as a demon, or I have cast Japanese Caucasian child. So that is quite an interesting, stories nowadays, that some of these films are not just for kids. They are heavy themed, stories that actually entertain not just the adults, but also ones that can be made for the kids. So obviously, to have this particular festival that celebrates and champions animation for both adults and children is an amazing thing, and indeed they need to be applauded for the work that they are doing with regards to the animation, promoting animation on all levels. And that is indeed something I'm happy about, that it is indeed a medium, promoting the medium's artistic legitimacy. And that is something I think all festivals around the world need to really give it the necessary regard and attention. So this is just something exciting. Well, let me know what you think with regards to this particular festival. That Animation is Film Festival, and the lineup of films they already have. If you watched some of them already, kindly leave them in there. Let me know what you think about these films. Or if you know of any films that you've watched that indeed attest to the fact that animation indeed is a serious medium and need to be considered as such, kindly leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And talking about heavy themed matters, well, this next story is quite heavy in regards to the subject matter, and my intention is not to provide you with a story of distaste, but well, it is still a story that ought to be talked about. In August, Ghana Web, a website that usually source some stories locally in Ghana from with regards to films and entertainment, they did a documentary and premiered a documentary in August of 2020, August 25th. And this documentary is called Sex for Fish. It covered a city, or a coastal city, where there is the exploitation of gender and certain vulnerabilities in the community, where adults sort of use fish to exploit the vulnerability of young underage kids. And it is indeed a challenge, and sometimes not necessarily underage, but within their teens. And this has been a worrying trend, particularly where a lot of these kids get pregnant, and that becomes the situation, and quite a challenge for the kids' parents, and a whole lot of issues. Well, the good news about this particular documentary is that it has received the necessary attention of the world to bring in the necessary help and support for the community to help educate and prevent some of these things from happening. And even though the situation, the content of the documentary is quite hard to deal with regards to how some young kids within their teen years have conceived as a result of, due to economic hardships, they had to, they give in to some of the desires of these fishermen, and it causes a lot of trouble for them. Well, let's read the article with regards to how this documentary has been recognized by UNESCO, and with this, just this past September 16th, they were called upon, that is, Ghana Web was called upon to give a special presentation on the subject matter in the documentary, and I'm sure something positive will come out of it to help the community in question. So let me take a quick read of the documentary, and if you want to, I'll leave the link to the documentary. The full documentary is on their website, so you can take a look at it. You can watch the full documentary. So this is what, yeah, my screen is freezing. Pardon me, let me just refresh this particular one. Yeah, so I hope, okay, yeah. So this is what he has to say. Ghana Web's groundbreaking documentary on the sex of fish phenomenon in coastal Ghana has received international recognition, and the platform an invitation from the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, to deliver a 1-hour presentation at a high-level roundtable discussion in Accra. The roundtable, scheduled for Tuesday, September 16, 2025, at the Best Western Premier Hotel in Accra, will bring together diverse stakeholders under the theme Gender, Climate Change, and Economic Vulnerability, taking transactional sex for fish in coastal Ghana. In a formal invitation to Ghana Web, UNESCO commended the platform for using its reach to spotlight the exploitative practice of transactional sex, in which some fisher folk demand sexual favors from women and adolescent girls in exchange for access to fish. The practice, which thrives in parts of Ghana coastal communities, particularly in the town of Ensin in the central region, has long been identified as a driver of gender-based exploitation, health risk, and socio-economic vulnerability. According to UNESCO, Ghana Web's documentary will be used as a key reference point during discussions at a roundtable. The organization has allocated a special 1-hour slot for Ghana Web's editorial team to explain the production process of the documentary and to screen excerpts to participants. The session is expected to deepen understanding of the drivers and impacts of the phenomenon, while facilitating knowledge exchange and shaping sustainable, multi-sectoral solutions that empower adolescent girls and young women. By shedding light on this hidden yet pervasive social ill, Ghana Web has played a critical role in exposing the canker that undermines gender equity, economic resilience, and community well-being. The documentary has not only raised public awareness, but has also attracted the attention of global institutions like UNESCO, who are now working with Ghana Web and other stakeholders to chart a way forward. So yeah, it is indeed a laudable, I must applaud them for bringing much needed attention to some of these social ills along the coast of Ghana. And if you watch I think an excerpt of, an excerpt in the documentary, one representative of Amnesty International did speak on the fact that this particular practice is actually prevalent not just in Ghana, but in other parts of the world where this sexual exploitation is prevalent or is still persistent in certain cultural areas. But I'm glad that at least Ghana Web, using the platform they have, has brought some attention to it, and then having a governing body like UNESCO know much more about it. And I'm sure that it is not just for the meeting, but with this particular attention that has been drawn to the canker in that society, they would take an initiative to lend help to the young ladies, particularly the young ladies to prevent it from happening, because it is a dire challenge where a lot of these young ones highest form of or highest education level is actually GSS. If you watch the documentary, one gentleman who happens to I think facilitate some of these, prevent some of these challenges in the society, speaks about how their highest form, most of them, the highest form of education is that. And he enumerated 3 reasons why some of these things are quite prevalent in that society. He spoke about, education, poor education, and also spoke about poverty. And then the last, I think I'm a little bit foggy on the last, but these are things that are a big challenge in the area. And just because of economic hardships, some fisher folks exploit this to their benefit, where they end up having sex with the young ones, and then they conceive, and it becomes a whole lot of issues, to the extent that some of them are underage and they have kids. And it is indeed a big problem in some aspects of the country. It is really a big problem. So with this particular documentary, it is indeed something that would bring much needed attention, and to agencies, governing bodies, even the government, to intervene one way or the other. And I think with the necessary education, it could help strengthen the will of the young ones to know that there is much better future ahead, and you don't have to settle for less. And not just that, but the economic hardship is also something that lead a lot of these women into such situation as they find themselves in. So hopefully maybe things will turn around, and with this documentary, and it will change the fortunes of people, particularly the women in those communities. So I must applaud Ghana Web for this particular documentary that they have embarked on, and using their platform to shed light on some of the challenges or this social ill in our society. So yeah, let me know what you think with regards to this particular journalistic work done by Ghana Web, and bringing much needed attention and making a positive impact in the society with the documentary they have done, even to the acknowledgement of UNESCO for the efforts they are bringing to share light on this and cause initiatives to be taken, bold initiatives to be taken to bring an end to some of these challenges. Whatever your thoughts may be, kindly leave it in the comment section below. So all too soon, I've come to an end of this episode of the Film Mandate. I didn't intend it to be long, but it looks like I had a lot to say with regards to some of the topics of today. And just as you noted, I'm not in my usual, black, t-shirt. Today, I'm in a t-shirt labeled, The Fisherman, and it's all about making you aware of tomorrow's premiering of the Fisherman film, starring Ricky Adelayita, Endurance Grand, Kiki Romi, Emmanuel Lamptey, and a whole host of others, including Fred Amugi as well. So, and I mean, there are a whole lot of others. Tomorrow will be the premiere day, for the film in Ghana. So if you're in Ghana, whether you are close to the West Hills Mall or the Accra Mall, go to the Silverbird Theatres and go and watch this film. And I can guarantee you that you'll be entertained, not because I was part of the production, but because the film itself is good. And go and watch it and let me know what you think about it. So that is what I can say. And thanks so much for joining me for this episode of the Film Mandate. I really appreciate your presence, and I'll come your way with another exciting episode of the Film Mandate tomorrow. My name is Papa Otu, and I'll see you soon.